taking the expression Bodhisattva, the 3 verses, which is page 50. Yes, thank you. Okay, so this is something which the purpose for us to be together. What we are doing is a very intense study on emptiness, what constitutes ultimate reality. At the same time, the efforts that we put in, to what extent this effort will be of benefit, is determined by motivation. If we think of this effort to be the motivated to be of benefit to all the beings, then the whatever effort that we put in over like 10 sessions will be incredible great benefit. Whereas if it is just for the sake of knowledge, additional knowledge, and then to that extent, like 5%, 10%, whatever benefit, and then those who seek personal liberation, or I should be free from samsara, then the effort will reap in the form of personal liberation, not really the infinite happiness. So whereas all of us somehow are very confident that particularly the people who are exposed to Buddhism for the last many years, and I can see many of the faces here, no doubt your aspiration is for Buddhahood. And this is how we at least try to build this connection with the aspiration for Buddhahood in this life, so that in the next life, without any effort, our mind will automatically flow towards the bodhicitta. So with this in mind, let us take this aspiring bodhisattva vow together, before which we will set this spirit. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Let us meditate for a few seconds to build this feeling within you. Okay, thank you. So with this in mind, as indicated by Stenson Hudley, let us visualize, let us reinforce the visualization of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in the space in front of you, so loving and caring and embracing to each one of us. And likewise, for the Buddhas of the field, let us reinforce the visualization of your two parents and all dear mother sentient beings living on the side. And here you are like the mother, and you are there to embrace with total love and affection towards all the beings. And imagine that you are leading this, and all beings are joining you in this recitation through the 3 verses, which are so precious. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious brotherhood in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious brotherhood in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious brotherhood in my heart. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successively dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successively dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successively dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the Bodhisattva practices. Okay. To quickly revise what we did the last 3 sessions is that we all have this potential for perfect awakening, or in other words, the perfect state. Perfect state meaning the state in line with what we aspire. And what do we aspire? We aspire fearlessness. With fearlessness meaning we aspire to get all the unnecessary things, all the undesirable things, all the pains, all the anguish. In other words, the moment you have this, you just don't feel like having them. And then there's a prospect of you having them. There's a fear coming, the uneasy feeling coming to you. And this uneasy feeling, depending on the degree, at a certain point, that is referred to as grossly fear, the fear. So in other words, we want to get rid of all the fears. One. Number two, to embrace the maximum happiness. So these are two things that we are seeking. And the potential that we have is actually in line with these two things. We can achieve these two states. Okay, so how can we achieve that? And say, some people, they expect some, shortcut miracles. And some people, they're very rational and extremely pragmatic. So when you become hungry, you go to kitchen instead of saying praying to the Buddha. When you are sick, you go to hospital. So this is what some people do. And some people, they look for shortcuts. The food is on the table, you don't eat it and pray to the Buddha, please remove my hunger. So this is how people differ in the mindset. So now the point is, finally, we know that this is just a symbol, it's a metaphor given. We all know that when you're hungry, we all go to kitchen. That's the reality. We all know that. This is a very empirical reality. So with this in mind, some people are more mature in their thinking to see what the ordinary people see as empirical reality. When I'm hungry, I go to kitchen. So likewise, when I want to get rid of fears, I want to get rid of the causes of the fears. When I want the infinite happiness, I want to embrace the causes of the infinite happiness. And this is referred to as a wise person. A wise person, meaning that be kind to yourself, be wisely kind to yourself. This is the point. With this mind, finally, what we came to learn thus far, the last 3 sessions, is that how to get into the fears. There are so many ways of getting into the fears. For example, getting the vaccine to get rid of the fear of temporarily, to get rid of the fear of COVID temporarily is not really the ultimate solution. It doesn't mean that you have the vaccine and you're afraid of COVID. This is what many people are disillusioned. They think that, okay, now I'm free from COVID. They go out, eat, no social distancing, nothing. And then they contract COVID. And some people even die because of that. So this is what is happening. So the point is that with the COVID, we go for the vaccine. And this is what you do. And finally, the point is the wise people, the really wise and the mature people are the ones who look for the causes. What you don't like, remove the causes of those things. What do you like? Embrace the causes of those things. This is what the Buddha indicated as ye dharma hetu prabhava. All these phenomena arise from the causes. Okay, so what are the causes? What are the causes of the miseries? What are the causes of the fears, anxiety, anguish, and so forth? And then the causes of not having the infinite happiness. Simply put, it is this self-grasping ignorance. The ignorance and the subtle imprints of the ignorance. So these two are responsible for somehow letting us not experience fearlessness and the infinite happiness. And so these are the metal stains, the ignorance and the subtle stains. Are they the intrinsic quality of your mind? No. The intrinsic quality of your mind is so pure. It's so pure that if the intrinsic quality of your mind manifests you don't really have to struggle to experience fearlessness. You don't have to struggle to get infinite happiness. It's right there within, but it is being mixed with the soil of the earth because of this, the glow of the good inside is not visible. So how to get rid of the soil? This is what we have been discussing the last 3 sessions. So this soil is the metaphor for the ignorance of seeing the dream as real. Seeing the dream is real. And this is what we have to get rid of. So how to get rid of this, seeing the dream is real? Wake up. How to wake up? To see things as subjectively real, see things as empty of objective reality. This is what we have to learn. And sensing that, the Buddha sensing that to reveal or to unveil this reality of the subjectivity, nothing really exists objectively. This being very profound, Buddha refrained from giving teachings for 49 days. And at the request of the kings of the god and goddesses, Indra and Brahma, and the Buddha finally assented to giving the teachings. So the Buddha taught it in steps. And the first step is subjectivity on a very gross level, subjectivity as opposed to substantiality, number one. Then number two, the subjectivity a little subtler, subjectivity as opposed to the externality. So this is what we have been discussing. And then the next one is subjectivity as opposed to true existence, while not rejecting objective existence. And finally, subjectivity as opposed to objectivity. So when I understand this, this is the waking up from the sleep of ignorance altogether. Okay, so this is the basic framework with which we have been doing the last 3 sessions, and we are still continuing to do it. Now we are on stanza 21. Stanza 21. Okay. So what we were discussing is that how the subjectivity. What do you mean by subjective? What do you mean by subjective? It needs to be understood on various levels. At these 5 levels. For that, we need to dismantle some degree of objectivity there, some degree. The first one is emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, number one. Number two is emptiness of autonomous, substantial reality, which we briefly discussed yesterday. And number three, emptiness of external reality. And number 4, emptiness of true existence, while not rejecting objective existence. And then finally, emptiness of objective existence. So these are the 5 layers of the emptiness that we need to know to dismantle the degrees of objectivity to understand the full import of this subjectivity. Okay, and so now Chittamatra philosophy, where they speak about the subjectivity of all phenomena on the basis of rejecting externality, subjectivity as opposed to externality. And all of us, if I'm not too presumptuous, all of us, while following the path to understand emptiness of the prasangika, or the final import of the Buddha's intent pertaining to the waking up from the sleep of ignorance, there we are bound to be entangled with various the hurdles. One of which is the belief that, what I'm seeing, they are not real. That's true. But there's a mind which sees them. There's a mind. That mind is truly there. So this is what is bound to happen to many of the people who pursue through this journey of the emptiness experience. This mind. So for that matter, it is very important for us to understand the concept of emptiness as presented by Chittamatra and how that is rejected by the higher schools. That's very important. And for that matter, first of all, we need to have a very thorough understanding as to the presentation of emptiness by Chittamatra. And Chittamatra, in other words, what they are saying is that everything is like the reflection in the mirror, where your mind is like the mirror and everything is like the reflection in the mirror. So what is so distinctive of this is the mirror and the reflection. There's no space gap. There's no space gap. Therefore, there's no externality. There's no externality. It's empty of externality. So when you realize that, then to a great extent, it's a great relief for us. That, for example, they said if it thinks the nature of my own mind, then there's a great degree of control. When everything's in my mind, I can control it. So there you can get a sense of great relief. Relief meaning that you are liberated from the fear of the loss of freedom, because you have the freedom. Everything is just your mind. This is the one understanding which makes people to feel very confident with the law of karma, accepting the law of karma. When you incline towards the philosophy of Chittamatra, believe where everything is seen as the subjective experience, the nature of the mind. Okay. For example, say when you are during your young days, when you're watching television with your brother or sister, and then you always struggle to get the remote control, because you have the remote control. Then you feel that, okay, now this television set is in my hand. So what I allowed to see is in my hand. The moment it is taken over by your little brother or little sister, they will show you only the cartoon. You don't like it. So you don't have freedom to choose what you are watching. So the point is that when you have this remote control, you get a feeling of, say, the freedom. Likewise, when you see that everything's nature of your own mind, your mind is in your hand. So the remote is as well, like the remote control is in your hand. This is a great feeling of freedom, and to what extent that is really compatible with the reality, that is we have to explore further. But at least this is extremely profound philosophy. Okay, now whatever seen, they're like illusion. There's nothing really there's external. It's just your mind, like the mirror, and where everything else is reflected in the form of reflections. So these reflections are nothing more than the mind itself. But don't say that the reflections are the mind. Reflections are the mirror. Don't say that reflection is a mirror, because the reflections change every now and then, and the mirror will remain steady. So this fine distinction must be made. The reflections are not the mind. Reflections are the nature of the mind, nature of the mirror. Nature of the mirror, they are not the mirror. Likewise, what we are seeing, they are not the mind. They are the nature of the mind, according to Chittamatra. Let's not forget this. With this in mind, just as all the reflections come, go, for example, if you keep a mirror next to the traffic, then thousands of cars pass by, reflections of the thousands of cars, the come, go, but the mirror remains steady. Likewise, we see that this mind, everything that you come in your life as experience of your life, they're all like the reflections, and they come, go, but the mind within you is very steady. The mind you have now, this existed since day one you're born, and then way before that. So since day one you're born, this mind was always with you. And the reflections come, go. For example, our body, and even this body, we said, oh, I got it from day when I was born. No, in fact, it says that within 20 years, and some of the body parts meaning the cells, they change within a span of 3 days. Some change within a span of a few months. Some change within a span of, say, the 20 years, and so on. In other words, almost like, except for a few neurons, except for the neurons, the other parts of the body, they all simply change within the span of 20 years. So if you are above 20 plus, which means that your body, except for the brain part, the rest of the body, what you acquired from your parents is no more with us now. What you have is very different. It's all the product of the food that we ate after taking birth on this earth. Okay, so even this body is also changing. But this mind was always there from day when you're born, even before that, and from in the context of this life, day when you're born, this mind is always there. So whatever you experience, they're all like the reflection in the mind. reflection in the mirror. They come, go, come, go, come, go, but this mind is very stable. Okay, so this mind is seen as intrinsically real, as truly real. Now, this is, although some of us may feel that, okay, fine, I learned that, I've already learned from, from this text, from that text, from his own teaching, that Prasanga philosophy, this is the ultimate, Chittamatra philosophy is just like a step to the, so finally, I don't really accept it. But when you actually meditate on emptiness, even according to Prasangika, we have to follow the path. We follow the track. As we go along the track, you're bound to reach to a point where you feel that mind is there as real. And you find that you cannot really feel how to dismantle this mind to be intrinsically real. That is a big challenge. For that matter, this study that we're doing now from Bodhisattva Shantideva's text, chapter 9, how the Bodhisattva Shantideva is rejecting the presence of the objective, truly existent mind, how that is rejected, and then with the study of Acharya Chandrakirti's text, which goes so much in detail to reject the truly existent mind as presented by Chittamatra. These are all extremely helpful for us in our meditation, because the last many years I've been meeting with people who are very serious meditators, not necessarily in the hills or mountains, but even among the people who are doing their day-to-day household chores, but they are dedicating time, sometimes for their own personal practice on a daily basis, and they come to share their experience that I cannot dismantle this mind to be intrinsically real. This is what is bound to happen to almost all of us. So these studies are extremely helpful. Okay. Now the point, now Chittamatra, because Chittamatra is not somebody who blindly follows things. So what's the reason for them? How do they defend the position that this mind, all others are empty of externality? What proof do they have? Or what proof do they produce to defend this position that nothing externally exists, number one. Then number two, okay, nothing externally exists as the external, but the mind which perceives externality, or the mind which perceives the objects, this mind exists as truly. What points are there? What points are there for Chittamatra in defense of the mind existing as objectively real, as truly real? These are two important points, and I'm going to quickly share with you the 2 points, what the Chittamatra would present. Number one, how to say that externality is not there. What we are seeing is external is they say deceptive. How? Number two, how can you defend that the mind exists truly real? 2 reasons according to Chittamatra. And when we say according to Chittamatra, particularly when we study this, don't think that okay, this is according to Chittamatra. No, just see if it makes sense to you. And you say for most of us, it'll make sense, unless until you are somebody who already studied these texts in the past lives so many times. And in this life, so this is what they say, but this, it has all the contradictions there. So this comes to us, those people who studied in the past lives. Okay. Now, for people like us, most of the people, if you really are being very open-minded, and very objective in your approach, you're bound to be convinced with what Chittamatra is going to say. Okay, and then alongside, once you're convinced with what Chittamatra is saying, then the higher philosophical schools, when they come with the debates to you, then you will be challenged with the deeper the way of reflection, and you get stuck. So that is how we are progressing along this the philosophical insight. Okay, so the point number one: how do Chittamatra explain? How do they explain that there's no externality? What we see as external, it is deceptive. Okay, to give you a very simple. The point is that first, let me tell you, let me ask you, Okay, what is my left hand? For sure, you will say a flower. For sure, you will say a flower. Then the next point is that how do you know there's a flower there? And you will say that I could see that. Okay, how many of you would give this answer a chance? Very good. Now, to say that the flower validly exists there in my hand, you seek the support of your eye consciousness. You seek the support of the eye consciousness. And how can you say that your eye consciousness is perfectly correct? How can you say that? How can you defend that your eye consciousness is perfectly reliable? How can you say that? For example, let's say that many of us, we are putting on the glasses. Why do we have to put in the glasses? Because that we have to, for me to see something there, I have to depend on my eye lens. And my eye lens, when it's weak, I have to depend on the eyeglasses. In some cases, concave, in some cases, convex. This is what we depend on. Which means that and then they say, for example, when nowadays is a little bit tough. Okay, say some of the letters, some of the medicines, the inscriptions there in the medicine bottles, they are so tiny. I don't know who is reading this. They are so tiny letters. But the younger ones, they look at it, they read it so fast, and we cannot read it. And in fact, if you give that to me, I'll say that this is just for the sake of the label. They keep it there. Nobody reads it. That's not true. My eyes cannot see that. So what I do, if I want to read it, I have to use a magnifying glass, or I have to use the glasses, reading glasses. With the reading glasses, then things become very clear, which means that what I'm seeing now, with the help of the reading glasses, the letters there are much bigger than what is originally there. So what I'm seeing is not the externally real there. What I'm seeing is not really there in the inscription. What is on the inscription is so tiny. What I'm seeing is the big one. So what I'm seeing is not really there on the bottle. What I'm seeing is not also between the bottle and my eyes. No. Somehow it's created the associated with my eye consciousness, with the lens. Otherwise, on the object, there's nothing there as external, as the letter that I'm seeing. If this is what happens, each one of us, our eye lenses, the natural eye lenses that we have, these eye lenses, if there are 100 people, there are 100 different eye lenses. More than 100 different, there are 200 different eye lenses. I'm sure some of you, the two glasses that you put on, the two sides, they differ in their power. Okay, how many of you, the two sides differ in the power? Raise hands. Look, which means that your even the two eye lenses of the same person, they differ. So how can you trust your eye consciousness? How can you trust your eye consciousness? So what you're seeing is just how you say the eye lenses, they project, and then we see that it is there. And this, what we are seeing, is entirely dependent on the eye lenses, and the eye lenses differ. If there are 100 people, there are 200 different eye lenses, and they are not identical to each other. So that depend on eye lenses, then you see something. So that's something that you are seeing is not really there on the object. Okay, so this is, if you reflect on this, it's quite scary. It's quite scary that what I'm seeing is not it's not reliable. I cannot really say that what I'm seeing is there. So this is how they reject the externality. And of course, there are many other reasons, but this one thing which is extremely convincing. Number one. The next part is, so what I'm seeing is deceptive. It is only the play of the eye lenses, eye sense power, and then my early imprints on my mind, And say, for example, somebody you hear, oh, you're going to meet person A. And the person you have never met. You're going to meet this person for the first time. And then you've been hearing all the bad things about the person, although it was all projected, although all exaggerated. But somehow you are being, brainwashed by somebody saying that this person is a bad, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then when you actually, okay, now you're going to see person A. Then you meet the person A. What will you see? You see the person is so nasty. Objectively, you see the person so nasty. Externally, you see the person so nasty. And the other way around. They say that you're going to meet the person A. You don't know what the person is like. And you met the sister of the person A. And the sister of the person said, oh, you're so lucky that the person is going to be your boss. And she is so kind. He is so kind. All these discussions, the moment you see person A, you can see the glow in the person A. It's just how our mind, let's say the imprints added to your mind previously, that affects the perception of the objects. So that what we are seeing is not really there. It's all the influence of coming from the outside. Okay, in this connection, I must be aged, I think about like 12. I must be aged 12 in school, and I had no exposure to the outside world. And my classmates, they're smarter than me. They already know. They already knew about the outside world. They knew about Richard Gere, and I'm sure many of you know Richard Gere. And but the Tibetan boys and girls in the very remote school, Richard Gere, how they see the word, the name is Gere, so they call him Richard Gere. So everybody was saying, Richard Gere has come, Richard Gere has come. Who is Richard Gere? I have no clue what that is like. But how these boys, my classmates, who seem to be more exposed to the outside world, they are getting so excited. He must be something like divine, glowing. And I was really curious. I just wanted to see what this Richard Gere is like. So I also just ran with other boys and girls. And then there was the American gentleman. Where is Richard Gere? And I was there. Where is he? He's just an ordinary person. And then he is much uglier than my father. My father is much more handsome than him. So why a big deal? What a big deal? Richard Gere. What is there? My father is much more handsome than him. So and then one day, I was with my aunt, my mother's side aunt, and my aunt was explaining about my family. I lost my mother at a very early age, so she was explaining to me about my mom and so forth. And then then she said that your dad has 7 siblings, including himself, 7 siblings, and that I know. I said, yes. And of the 7 siblings, your dad was the ugliest one. I could not believe what she was saying. Because for me, he's more handsome than Richard Gere. And then she's saying that among the 7, your dad is the ugliest one. I could not believe. Later on, then I realized how your mental thinking that affects the perception. When I see my father, I used to see him as extremely smart, extremely handsome. So there was simply projection by the influence of my earlier mental imprints. Okay, so this is what Chittamatra is saying. But there's this mind which is influenced. This mind is always there. Yes, that is truly there. How do you defend it? How can you convince that this mind exists truly, while the other schools, they said that no, even this mind is also deceptive. It does not exist as truly real. So how can you defend that this mind exists truly? Okay, this is a serious question. So for that, they say that, okay, look, this is a very important point. And those of us who are listening to this for the first time, it can be a little technical. Don't worry. And those of us who already learned about learn from Madhyamaka Avatar, entry into the middle way. For you, it's going to be like a revision. For others, it's going to be a little technical. Bear with me. And yeah, so it'd be good if you can study, take up these studies as more systematically. That'll be very helpful. So they say that, okay, let's say that, okay, I'm in Delhi, right? If I ask Shahala, if somebody asks Shahala, okay, where is Geshe Dorji now? Right? And Shahala says, oh, he's in Delhi. Okay, how do you know? Then Shahala says that because I checked with Geshe and he told me that he's in Delhi. And then the person says, how reliable is he? How reliable is he? Oh, he's very reliable. He says that he's in Delhi, he's in Delhi. Not that he is hiding in Tel Aviv or somewhere, right? He's in Delhi. That's very reliable, right? That don't ask me whether he's reliable or not. That very reliable. Okay, so which means that he is in Delhi is being supported by a very reliable source. By a very reliable source. Okay, how often do you come across in your life to defend a position? You try to refer to a very reliable source which is acceptable to both the sides. Presents? Yes, this is how we do. Yes, this is how we do. Yeah, this is how we do. And the Tibet House here, some of the stuff, they're smart. Some of the stuff, they're smart. When I say, why did you do this? Then they would say, one month ago, Gishila, you told us. Right, I didn't say. And some of them, they passed down to the younger staff, new staff, that if Gishila, they say, ask you with some questions about the job, nature of the job, then you tell him that Gishila, you told me two months ago. Right. Okay. So this is how smart they are. They're trying to say the user's source, which I cannot say no. And I'm very confident I do not say this. So sometimes I tell them that who taught you this? Who taught you that I told you this? Who taught you this? Somebody senior must have taught you so that you will not be interjected further. Okay, what I'm saying is that this is how we try to prove the existence of something. To say that what he said is very true because this says what His Holiness the Dalai Lama said it. Right? Again, we take His Holiness as a source. Oh, this is very true. Nowadays, many people say this is true because this is what the scientists say. We try to take the support of the scientists. Now, here are my friends. What makes them, if you ask them, what makes you think that the mind exists truly? Okay, so they say that the mind exists truly because there's a self-cognizant mind which knows that this mind exists truly. So what is this self-cognizant mind? This self-cognizant mind is extremely reliable. Extremely reliable. It is never deceptive. It is never deceptive. Self-cognizant mind is never deceptive. It is never deceptive. And whatever it perceives, it is true. So it perceives the mind as objectively real, as intrinsically real. Therefore, the mind exists as intrinsically real. This is how they defend. And then they further said that if you don't accept the self-cognizant mind, if you reject self-cognizant mind, then you cannot account for the functionality of the world. Okay, this is a very serious question. If you don't accept self-cognizant mind, you'll be left with no option to account for the functionality of the world. How can you account for the functionality of the world? Okay, so Chitta Mathur would say that there is the only option left with you is to accept the self-cognizant mind. Okay, so now let's go stanza 21. Okay, If you say that the mind cognizes the illumination of the candle flame, well, based upon whose cognition can the statement be made, a mind has an illuminating nature. Okay, let's say that. So this is what we briefly touched yesterday. Say, how do we know that I'm say there's a power cut, and I told you what is in my hand. You have no clue. Suddenly the 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 light came, and then there's a flower in your hand. How do you know that? You did not say. You said that you did not know before. Now I know this because of the light. So the light helps to illuminate this flower. Now not only that you see the flower, you also see the light. What helps you to illuminate the light? Only ocean is itself. So this is known as the self-illumination. So likewise, the mind. How do you know that the flower is in my hand? I can see that. My eye consciousness can see that. How do you know that your eye consciousness can see that? My eye consciousness has the self-illuminating quality, self-cognizant quality. So that eye consciousness sees the flower, other objects, and also sees itself. So with respect to seeing itself, it is known as the self-cognizant mind. So this is what they say. Now, the Prasangika is saying, how do you know that there's self-cognizant mind? How do you know that there's self-cognizant mind? This is a huge debate. And I'm a little afraid that me explaining this here within just a few minutes, it may be a little technical, and those of us who are who are really very serious with this, then you can, say, if possible, you can discuss with amongst yourself, yeah, or Shahala, you may arrange something. Yeah. Okay. So this is a topic which is being studied extensively. But I would say that if you listen to this recording again, if you cannot really get access to any other sources for more studies, for the time being, of course, eventually you must study this more extensively. If you really want to enjoy this, or if you really want to get a clear picture of what emptiness is, according to Prasangika. Okay, so how do you say that there's a self-awareness in the mind? Okay, let's read further. A mind has an illuminating nature, meaning that a mind has the illuminating nature. This is what Chittamatra is saying. The last line of stanza 21, the mind, it illuminates other things as well as it illuminates itself. There's self-illumination nature there. 22. Since it has never been seen by anyone, discussing whether it is self-luminous or not is meaningless. This is what Prasanga is saying. Prasanga meaning the Bodhisattva Sharadeva is saying that such a self-cognizant mind is non-existent. It does not exist at all. Since it has never been seen by anyone, meaning that it refers to a self-cognizant mind. The self-cognizant mind has never been seen, never been cognized by anyone or any mind. Discussing whether this self-cognizant mind is self-luminous or not is totally meaningless. And for sure, many of you will have a sympathy towards Chittamatra, and you will ask, what makes Bodhisattva Shantideva to say that such self-cognizant mind is non-existent? How can he prove that? This could be the counter debate against Bodhisattva Shantideva. Let's see. Discussing whether it is self-luminous or not is meaningless. It is like the attractiveness of a better woman's daughter, meaning that let's say that Tibet house, we have say what? Okay, I'm just okay, Leorala. I'm just wondering, what food should we give to the elephant of Tibet house, Leorala? Unmute. Okay, so let us all listen to Shahara then. Shahara, what food should I give to the Tibet house elephant?
Sky flowers.
Shahala, don't be naughty. You're the
Ah,
director of
non-existent
you're the
food to
director
non-existent
of
animals.
Dharma Friends of Israel. Don't be naughty. Don't be naughty. Okay, let's say the Carolyn Ming. What food should have we got the say the somebody presented a gift elephant as a gift for Tibet house. So our elephant here now. So what food should we give? Carolyn Ming, we have no clue. What should we do?
Krishna, I also don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Okay. Okay. Sherwin, what advice would you give? And Sherwin, you know that we don't have space for elephant. You know that already. You're getting it? You know that you are from another master's course. Yeah, you're from another master's course. You know that. So and somebody's telling you that what food should we give to the Tibetan elephant? What will you say? Sherwin? Oh, we cannot hear you. Okay, Akila. Yes, Sherwin, say it again.
Nothing to give.
Okay, don't give, he'll survive on his own.
There's no
There is no Tibetan. There's elephant. There's elephant. There are so many elephants in the world, but there's no Tibetan elephant.
yes.
So there's no Tibetan elephant. You don't have to feed him. There's no Tibetan elephant at all in the first place. So therefore, when the self-conscious mind is not there to discuss whether it is self-luminous or not, makes no sense. This is what Bodhisattva Shantideva is saying. And of course, as I said earlier, most of you might have a little uneasy here. Okay, this it is not too appealing. You know, it is like Bodhisattva Shantideva, I say the bullying, bullying the Chittamatra, right? So instead, the Chittamatra can have a counter debate against Bodhisattva Shantideva. How can you prove that such a self-conscious mind doesn't exist? Okay, this is the mindset we need, mindset of the analysis that we need. Okay, so let's see what the Bodhisattva Shantideva has to say. 23. Suppose you insist, but if a subconscious mind does not exist, okay, this is interesting. Now the Chittamatra, they are not only just, they coming up with a counter debate, saying that how can you prove that subconscious mind doesn't exist? Instead of that, they come up with a very solid debate. And of course, this is what is known as the rhetorically brought up by the Bodhisattva Shantideva on behalf of Chittamatra. Okay, what it says is that if a self-cognized mind does not exist, then how can a consciousness be recalled? Okay, this is a very serious debate, discussion. I'd like to share with you here, and those of us who are doing this for the first time, I would greatly encourage you to, if possible, the check with Shahala and Liorala and Gilala, check with them. Okay, Shahala, raise hand. And Liorala, raise hands. Gilala. Okay. So we have many others from Nalanda Master's Course Tibet House and also Nalanda Diploma Course Tibet House. So those of us who are interested to know more about this, I would highly recommend you to discuss with these people. They'll be very helpful. And of course, if you have some local, the Geshes in residential Geshes or temples in a place, just learn from them. They'll be extremely, extremely beneficial and very indispensably required for your understanding of emptiness. Okay. Now, so to understand the stanza 23, I'd like to give the first explanation here. Let us say that okay, David Luck, let me ask you one question. Okay, let's all listen. This is very important. I'm not just having personal discussion with David Luck. So this is for all of us. David Luck, tell me, I forgot what I ate yesterday. What I ate for the lunch yesterday.
Yes, delicious Tibetan veggie momos.
No, that is not true. No, do you remember what I ate yesterday? What I ate for lunch yesterday?
I cannot, Geshe. Unfortunately, I wasn't there.
Okay. So look, listen. How many agree with what the David said? Raise hands. You have no clue. You don't remember. You don't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday because you do not see. You do not see what I ate yesterday. You were not there with me yesterday. Okay. How many of you agree with David Larry's hands? Okay, now most of the hands are coming up. Don't change your mind later on. Okay, now what David is saying is that in order to have the memory of what you ate yesterday, you should cognize or you should be aware of what you ate yesterday itself. Only when you know what you ate yesterday, then you can remember it the next day. Then there's a possibility for you to remember it next day. How many agree with this? Raise hands. Okay. In other words, what you are saying is that to have the memory of one object, you should have the experience of that object before. Raise hands. Those agree. Okay, good. Okay, good. Now, if this were the case, then okay, what we said thus far is the axiom that we have. The axiom that we have is that to have the memory of object A, you should have the experience of object A before. This is what we all agreed upon. If this is the case, my question is, okay, how many you remember? How many you remember the story that shared of Richard Gere? Raise hands. How many remember it? We all remember it. Very good. Okay, so that object about my father and Richard Gere, that is the object, and you could remember that story now. Now it is 12:30 sharp. That's amazing. 12:30 sharp, July 10th and 2021. 12:30 sharp. 12:30 sharp. You have the memory. Okay, let's say this story I shared with you at 12:25. Let's say this story about Richard Gere and my father, I shared with you at 12:25 p.m., July 10th, 2021. Now, I'll say, how do you know that I shared this story? I shared the story about Richard Gere and my father because I heard it. Because I heard the story myself. Raise hands. Okay, let's say. So this is a story which I shared, and then say at that point, 12:25, you have your ear consciousness having heard this story. Now, not only you remember the story, you also remember your ear consciousness having heard the story. Raise hands. Very good. Now, if you say, yes, I remember means not the ear consciousness. When you're hearing the story, you're not remembering. You're registering. Remember means you registered and later on you remember. So which means that memory, yes, I do remember that me having heard the story. Let's say the story of my dad and Richard Gere, and then your ear consciousness having heard the story at 12:25, and then you have the memory of that 12:26. How do you know that this 12:26 mind remembers your ear consciousness having heard the story? How do you remember that? The next moment of the mind, which is either you have to say next moment of the mind or the same mind. If you say the same mind, you accept self-cognizant mind. Given that you are following the Bodhisattva Shantideva, not accepting self-cognizant mind, you are left with no option other than to say the next moment of the mind. Next moment of the mind is 12:28. Then how do you remember that 12:28 mind remembers the mind having remembered your ear consciousness having heard the story. 1229 mind. And how do you know that this mind remembers that mind having remembered this mind having heard your ear consciousness having heard the story? The 1230 mind. Now it's 1230 sharp. So how does this mind remember? 1231. 1231 mind is yet to come. So Chittamatra is saying that you cannot account for the memory if you don't accept the concept of self-cognizant mind. If you accept self-cognizant mind, you don't have to go into the infinite regress. You don't have to go into infinite regress. Instead, you say that, yes, I heard it. And how do you know that you heard it? Because my hearing ear consciousness has a self-cognizant element. That self-cognizant mind, knows that my ear consciousness heard the story. And how does self-cognizant mind know that? It's self-cognizant mind. This is the very definition of self-cognizant mind. It's not itself. You don't ask, there's no room for a second question. So this is how the self-cognizant mind, acceptance of this self-cognizant mind can help you to account for the memory. It's extremely important discussion. And this makes them to solidify they believe in this self-cognizant mind, that this is the ground. And this self-cognizant mind, they said, is very reliable mind, very reliable. It never deceives. It never gets a sense of misconception. In other words, it's never deceived. It's always reliable. And whatever is seen by the self-cognizant mind should reflect the reality. So this self-cognizant mind, it perceives the mind as truly real. So the mind should be truly real. This is amazing philosophy. And whereas with your whatever reasons that you have, if you're able to dismantle the concept of the subconscious mind, then the whole Chittamatra philosophy is shattered. Which means the belief in the mind to be objectively real, the belief in the mind to be intrinsically real is shattered. And then on that basis, you still account for the functionality. Then you can see that there's nothing intrinsically real there. Everything is like illusion. Within the illusion, like the functionality, the world operates infallibly. The world operates effectively. Okay, this is how it's presented. Now let's see, 23. Suppose you insist, but if self-cognizant mind does not exist, then how can a consciousness be recalled? How can it account for the memory? Well, a recollection comes about from a connection with another object that was experienced, like recalling a poison from a rat bite. Okay, this is the interesting. So basically, if you don't account for the self-cognizant mind, then the memory cannot be accounted for. So this is what the Chittamatra comes with the counter debate against Bodhisattva Shantideva. Then Bodhisattva Shantideva gives this example, this as the response to the argument, saying that, okay, this is very important. Say that, let's say 2020 winter, let's say there is one particular the same animal, or the mouse or a rat, it bites you in the winter. It bites you, and you're aware that yes, this animal, this rat, bit me. But whether the poison is injected or not injected, you are not aware. So next year, 2021 in the monsoon with a thunderstorm, it's so this particular bite of the rat, the poison injected, if your body is injected by this poison, then during the next thunderstorm, and the poison in your body, come together, meaning that at one point, the person has this thunderstorm, experience the thunderstorm, and with the poison injected in the body, the person will have a pain. pain at that particular spot where the rat has bitten. Okay, so on the winter time, the person was aware that he was bitten by the rat, but was not aware that the poison was injected. And then the next year monsoon with the thunderstorm, then the person start to have the pain where the earlier the rat bit, the rat is bitten. Then okay, I could feel the pain now, or which means the rat has injected poison in my body. Okay, so that recollection comes to the person later on. So the person did not experience the injection, that the poison was injected in his body before. He did not experience that, but still could say that, yes, okay, my body was injected by the poison last time when the rat bit me. So for that matter, Bodhisattva, they were saying that in order to have the recollection or the memory or the some form of the thought process, the sequential thought process of the earlier phenomena, it is not necessary that you should have experienced that object before. Even without having experience the poison being injected in the body, still later on you can still have the thought that, okay, I was injected the poison was injected in my body by the rat when it bit me. Okay, so for that, the point is that what we said earlier, that in order to have the memory of a phenomena or the thought process of a phenomena which happened earlier, you should have experienced that object before. Whereas the Bodhisattva, they were saying that it is not necessary. So this example given, and the Bodhisattva, okay, this is a little technical, particularly those of us who are really new to this, just bear with me. And then how do you account for this memory? So Bodhisattva Deva as well as the Acharya Chandragati, both of them say that let's say that let's say yesterday I had a vegetable sandwich, let's say. Okay, not the momos. I'm vegetarian, right? You can have veg momos. Okay, let's say that I had the sandwich. Now, say I cognized yesterday when I was having this sandwich, I cognized the sandwich was the object. So, although you did not cognize, okay, look, this is very important. Yesterday's sandwich and your mind yesterday having cognized the sandwich that you ate. And yesterday, no mind cognized your mind, which cognized the sandwich. You're getting it? Let me say it again. Particularly for those of us who are new to this. Say the yesterday sandwich, and okay, this sandwich is very good. So your mind is cognizing it. Your mind is cognizing it. And then later on, you don't really think about it anymore. You enjoyed it, finished. Now today, somebody asked you, what did you have yesterday for lunch? I think about it, oh, sandwich. I had sandwiches. Which means that yesterday I had the mind which cognized the sandwiches, but I did not have the mind to cognize that mind A. Yes, I had the mind A to cognize sandwich, but I do not have a mind B to cognize mind A, which cognized the sandwich. You getting it? So I just had the mind A. No mind yesterday cognized mind A. But today, I'm not only remembering the sandwiches, I'm also remembering the mind A, the mind A having experienced the sandwich. I'm remembering mind A. What made you remember? Did you experience mind A yesterday? No. So how do you remember it then? How do you remember? If you can remember something which you have not experienced before, then why don't I remember what you ate for your lunch yesterday? Okay, so what Bodhisattva was saying is that Acharya Chandragati, particularly Acharya Chandragati, what he's saying is that yes, that's true. It is like, okay, let's say this keychain. Okay, do you see that? Okay, let's say that, okay, this, what do you call this? Okay, this small gadget and this wire, okay, let's say this antenna, and I'm now holding the antenna. I'm not holding the main body of the gadget. Or let's say I'm this antenna, it may break. Okay, let's say I'm holding the main body of this gadget. I'm not holding the antenna. When I pull this main body, even the antenna also comes along. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. When the child pulls your left hand, it will drag you towards the kitchen, right? Your right hand also comes with you. The whole body comes with you. Likewise, Bodhisattva Shantideva Acharya Chandrakriti, particularly Acharya Chandrakriti, is saying that when you remember the object, although you have experienced the object, the sandwich, what I had yesterday, you experience the object, you did not experience the subject yesterday. But the subject and object, these two are tied together. How? When you say that you remember you have sandwich yesterday for your lunch, you say yes, because I experienced that object. Now when you say yes, I remember. When you say I remember, not only you remember the object, you also remember that I ate it. So along with the object, subject also comes along. When you remember the object, the subject also comes along. Like when a child pulls you with your right hand towards the kitchen, your left hand also comes along. Likewise, the subject and object, these two are tied together. When you remember the object, you also remember the subject. Because how you remember the object? Yes, I ate the sandwich. So the subject, it comes along when you say, yes, I remember the sandwich. Sandwich the object, and who had it? I had it. I ate it. So this agent, the subject also comes along. So because by the power of remember the object, it automatically helps you to remember the subject as well. No need to experience the subject separately. So this is how Acharya Chandra explains the accountability of the memory, even without having to accept the self-cognizant mind. Okay. 23. Suppose you insist, but if a self-cognizant mind does not exist, this is Chittamatra, then how can a consciousness be recalled? Well, a recollection comes about from a connection with another object that was experienced, meaning what you ate, object, and when you remember the object, automatically the subject is also remembered. These two come together. A connection with the another object that was experienced, like recalling the poison from a rat bite. Rat bite was what you experienced. Injection of poison was not what you experienced, because these two are tied together. Later on, when you remember the bite, you also remember the poison injected at the time when the thunderstorm hit you. 24. And suppose you persist, but it can illuminate a cell itself, because when endowed with other conditions, okay, this again, these debates are very helpful for us to sharpen our intelligence. Now the Chittamatra, what they say is that say, okay, how many of you believe in what is known as the mind reading? Reading somebody else's mind. Raise your hands. Reading, ability to read somebody else's mind. Very good. Okay, sometimes simply by looking at the body language, okay, now this person is not too happy with, not too happy with, that a new family comes. There's a jealousy coming. I can see that. You're getting it? So we can see what's inside the person's mind, what's happening in the person's mind through the body language. You can infer that. You can see that. Okay. But so likewise, reading somebody else's mind, that happens. Which is, what is red? Somebody else's mind. There's a mind. And what reads that mind? Your mind. Your mind reads somebody else's mind. The object is a mind, self is also mind. Mind. So, and so the Chittamatra, they are saying that with training, if your mind has the ability to read somebody else's mind, which is very far away, your mind is very close. But you can for sure, see your own mind. If you can see somebody else's mind, why not use your own mind, which is nearer? So when I could see what is happening in Tel Aviv and so forth, I should be knowing what is happening in Delhi or in Tibet House. I should know that, because Tibet is much closer to me as compared to the other places of the outside India. So they say that when you read the mind of somebody else, which is further away from you, why not you can read your own mind? Reading own mind is known as self-conscious mind. Okay, so Bodhisattva Deva come up with the rebuttal, saying that in the olden times, it is believed that you apply some ornaments to your eyes, and it gives you power to your eyes. With this power, when you look at the ground, the earth, you can see the hidden treasures underneath. Okay, nowadays whether it is true or not, I don't know, but this is what was in the past. Say with the very specific, the powerful consecrated lotion, eye lotion, you apply this to your eyes, and we can see the treasures underneath the ground. So Bodhisattva was saying that when you apply this lotion, although you can see the further away objects like the treasures, but your eyes cannot see the lotion itself. Lotion is much closer to your eyes as compared to the treasures underneath the ground. So the reason that you have given does not apply. Simply because of distance, one is further away, you see the further away, why not you see the nearer one? This is not necessary. So the treasures further away, you can see that through this lotion, but your eyes cannot see this lotion itself, which is smeared to you. Okay, 24. And suppose you persist, but it can illuminate itself because when endowed with other conditions through training, one can see others' minds. Then why not one see one's own mind, which is nearer? Okay, well, Bodhisattva responds by saying, well, by means of applying magic eye lotion, a buried treasure vase is seen underneath the ground, while the eye lotion itself is not seen. So the distance is not the reason to say that if you can read somebody else's mind, why not you can see your mind. 25. Those which, okay, now this is a very important point. Finally, what is all these debates, rebuttals, the counter debates, and so what is all these? What for? Okay, so what it says here is that those which are seen, heard, or known are not to be negated. Here, instead, the conception of true existence, which is the cause of suffering. So finally, right from the beginning, what we said is that with the wisdom, the Buddha taught this wisdom to eradicate all our miseries. That's the purpose. With all these debates happening, we should not forget the main purpose. The main purpose is to dispel our miseries. So, let's say your house, your car, your friends, and the things, let's say the beautiful flowers and so forth. Do they create problems? No. Those which are seen, the visual objects, which you hear, the musics, and so forth, or known, they are not to be negated. Don't negate a flower. You negate the objectively existent flower. Say, okay, how many you would say that the dream flower? How many you had dreamt? At least one in your life you have dreamt of going into garden. Raise hands. Okay, very good. Let's say going to garden and then you see a flower. So that is not a real flower. This is a dream flower. My question to you: dream flower exists or not? Raise hands. Those who say that dream flower exists. Raise hands. Okay, raise hands. Those who say no, dream flower doesn't exist. Raise hands. Okay, it's like half. So let's say dream flower, those who said that dream flower does not exist, you think of this. And even those who said dream flower does exist, think of this. Dream flower, it does not exist as a real. We see the dream flower as the real flower. That is mistaken, but the dream flower is a dream flower. Raise hands who agree with me. Very good. All of you agree with me, which means the dream flower, although it is not a real flower, but it is a dream flower. Raise hands. Okay, because it is a dream flower, it does exist as a dream flower, although it does not exist as a real flower. Raise hands. Very good. Which means the dream flower exists. Likewise, the flower exists. Your friends exist. The car exists. Your house exists. COVID exists. Everything exists, but they don't exist as real. What is rejected is not the phenomena. Phenomena are not rejected, but phenomena existing as objectively real, that is rejected. Those which are seen, heard, or known are not to be negated. Here, instead, the conception of true existence, that these things to be as truly real, as objectively real, that is to be rejected because that misconception is the cause of the suffering. It's very powerful, and that to be rejected. Okay. Here, instead, the conception of true existence, which is the cause of suffering, is to be rejected. What's the cause of suffering? The flower per se is not a cause of suffering. Seeing the flower is objectively real, that is cause of suffering. So that must be rejected. 26. Suppose you say the illusion of an external. Okay, this is again a little bit of debate again with the Chittamatra. Okay, let us finish this first. Okay. Now, Chittamatra, for them, just imagine this is, just see if you can understand what I'm trying to share with you now. Let's say that Chittamatra, for them, there's no externality. Okay, let us do a little bit of the semi-meditation. Semi-meditation, just sit upright and just imagine. So like, whatever I'm seeing now, whatever I'm experiencing now, they're all like dream, they're all nothing. They're just in my own mind, like the mirror, reflections in my mind, reflections in the mirror of my mind. Just imagine. Okay, what is next to me is the table, the pen, the book, the screen. They're just the reflection in the mirror of my mind. Okay, now what is really there? Just the mind is the mirror, like the mind is really there as a real substance there. Okay, just imagine. Now, under such situation, then whatever you are seeing, they're not really there as how they appear to you as external. True. Okay. So what is really there with respect to you? It's just my mind. And so like there's the mirror, which is a 360-degree mirror. And whatever I see, they're like all whatever experience, they're all the reflections in this 360-degree mirror of my mind. Okay. Which means that there's nothing really there which can, besides your mind, there's nothing there. Yes. If besides mind, there's nothing there, since when? Since the time you're born? Yes. Even before that? Yes. Okay. So for you, with respect to your mind is the only phenomenon that exists. Yes. Okay. Which means that there's nothing there which pulls and pushes your mind. There's nothing there, yes. Okay. If there's a case, then there's nothing there which pulls and pushes the mind. Then the mind is always in the state of the total freedom, not being affected by any external factors. Yes, I have to say this. Then you are always in nirvana, state of nirvana, where you have total peace, no disturbance at all, nothing is affecting you. Okay, that I have to see, yes. Okay, look, this reflection that we did now. Okay, come out. Come out in meditation now. Come out, come out, come out. Okay, this reflection we did now is what we have to reflect on when you're by yourself, to really feel what is Chitta Matra philosophy like. Okay, so if you understand this, if you could follow this, then as we read the verses, it'll help us to understand the discussions. Okay, 26. The illusion of an external object is not separate from the mind. Suppose you say Chitta Matra. So now you experience that what I'm seeing just a reflection in my mind. What is really there is just my mind. That's it. With respect to you, besides your mind, there's nothing really there. You as a Chitta Matra philosopher and a believer. So what am I seeing? All this, they're all just illusion-like. They're all just, there's nothing really that's external. Illusion of an external object is not separate. So what I'm seeing, they're all not separate from my mind. These are just reflection in the mirror of my mind. Despite being inseparable, it is still impermanent. So Chitta Matra will say that, yes, the reflection of the flower in my mind is not the mirror. The reflection of a flower in the mirror is not the mirror. It's the nature of the mirror. So, but it is still impermanent phenomena. It's still impermanent phenomena. It is a flower. It is impermanent phenomena. So it says, despite being inseparable from the mind, it is still impermanent entity. Okay, well, this is Bodhisattva. If it were a truly existent function thing, so this flower that you say that it exists, flower, is it truly real? Okay, what do you think? Okay, raise hands. The flower, say you have Chitta Matra, the Chitta Matra philosopher, a Chitta Matra follower. Okay, this flower, what you will agree with me is that according to Chitta Matra, this flower that you are seeing is just the reflection in your mind, the nature of your own mind. Raise hands. Very good. So this flower, which you said as the nature of your mind, this flower, is it flower or not? My question to you. Those who said yes, raise hands. Okay, those who said no, raise hands. Okay, I'm happy. So yes, Chitta Matra, say the Chitta Matra philosophers will say that yes, it is a flower. It's a flower, but it is not external flower. It's a flower. It's not the mind. It's the nature of the mind. It's the nature of the mind. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. So it says that, well, if it were truly existent functional thing meaning as a flower, functional phenomena, functional thing as a flower, how could it not be different from the mind? Well, what you're seeing is not real. What you're seeing is an external flower. It's not real. It's deceptive. It's not real. But you said it's truly existent. It's a flower. It's a flower. And what do you think? According to Chitta Matra, the flower should be truly existent or not? Raise hands. Those who say yes. Okay, those who say no. Okay, it's a half-half. Okay, the answer is, okay, this requires more intensive studies. So now, those of us who said it does not exist truly, you have to do the Nalanda diploma course. Okay, this is a very technical point which we have to learn. Okay, so I say it's a reflection. It's like the reflection in the mirror of the mind. It's not really there's an external flower there. It's just a reflection in the mirror of your own mind. Is that a flower? Yes, it's a flower. It's not an external flower. It's a flower. It's a flower which is the same nature as the mind. This flower, does it exist as truly? The answer is yes. In other words, all the impermanent phenomena and the ultimate reality, these two things should exist truly, according to Chitta Matra. This is a technical side that we have to learn. But don't worry too much about it. And it's good. Just make a note of this, and later on you have to reflect on how. And you can ask other people as well how these two are truly existent. All impermanent, let me repeat it, all impermanent phenomena and the ultimate reality. These two things, all impermanent phenomena and ultimate reality, these two things exist truly. Besides these two, nothing exists truly. Okay, let's not forget this. Now, Bodhisattva was saying that if what you see is truly there means it should exist as it appears to you. If it exists as appears to you, then it appears as external real. It should be external real. So it says that, and if you say it is not different, it could not be truly existent functional thing. So before that, if it were truly, if this the flower is a truly existent flower, truly existent, how it appears, it truly exists, how could it not be different from the mind? Then what we see, that flower is different, and what sees is here. What is seen is there as the object. What sees is the subject. These two are different. These two are different. So if it is real, then these two must be different. And if we say these are not different, this cannot be real. Okay, how many of you get some sense of this? At least a 50% sense of this. If it is real, it must be separate from your mind. If it is not separate, it cannot be real. Raise hands. If you get like 50% sense of this. Okay, good. Shahala? No? Okay, don't worry, Shahala. Okay. Okay, so let's say for the time being, let's say that if it is truly real, okay, the Shahala and all others who said that, okay, I'm not really, it did not really hit me with some sense, right? Or I did not really get it, or it doesn't really make sense. What it may be, for those people, I ask this question. Okay, what is my, okay, now don't think you are a Chittamatran. Think of you as yourself. What is my left hand? A flower. What is my right hand? Nothing. You agree? Raise hands. Good. Okay. In my left hand, there's a bunch of flowers. In my right hand, nothing. Okay. Now imagine in my right hand a bunch of blue flowers. A bunch of blue flowers. Okay, Shahala, tell me, what is my left hand?
Flowers.
Flowers. What is my right hand?
Imagine blue flowers.
Okay. How many agree with Shahala? Imaginary blue flowers. Raise hands. Okay. Okay. Imaginary blue flower means no blue flower just coming in your mind. You agree with me? Okay. Now, which of the two is real? The flower in my left hand or the imaginary blue flower? Which is real? Which is truly existent?
The left-hand
They are in
flowers.
my left hand. Very good. So, therefore, when we say truly existent, it should not be from your mind. It should be there. So, if it is not there, means it's not truly real. This is how, we should use our intuitive, natural thought processes to respond to this philosophy. So what the Bodhisattva was saying is that if it is not real, if it is real, it should be separate from your mind. If it is not separate from your mind, like imaginary, then it cannot be real. So you cannot say that these two are not different, plus that is real. You cannot say these two things together. You have to reject one of these two. You're getting it? Okay, good. 27. Although the illusion is not truly existent, it is still an object of view. Okay, now Bodhisattva is coming up with his response. But the first line is still of Chittamatram. Although the illusion is not truly existent, So what we are seeing, external object, that is illusion. There's nothing as external there. Although the illusion is not truly existent, it is still an object. Okay, now the Chittamatra, they're saying that what we see as external, what we see is external. The flower is one thing, and the external flower is two. There are two things. Say the external flower, although the illusion is not truly existent, the external flower, it is not truly existent. It is not truly existent, but it is still how your mind can see. Yes, your mind, when you look at this flower, how does the flower appear to you? It appears as truly, it appears as truly real, or as externally real, or as the natural mind. How does that appear? Of course, it appears as externally real. Although the external flower appears to my mind, but still the external flower is the view of my mind. It is illusion. External flower is illusion, according to the mantra. Although external flower is illusion, still it is the object of my mind. Now the prasanga is, if that is permissible, if you say the illusion is there, still is the object of mind, object and the subject is possible, where the object is the illusion. Then you can, why not you also accept the mind as illusion, illusory object, illusory subject, and still there can be object and subject possible. Why can you not hold this position? But Chittamatra, Prasanga would say that object is illusion, the subject is also illusion. Whereas for Chittamatra, they feel very uncomfortable to say that subject is illusion. If the subject is illusion, then there's nothing for them to say that the law of cause and effect operates infallibly. So for them, they need some degree of objectivity to hold on to say that this is the ground for the functionality of the world, to say that something exists truly. So the object is illusion, but the mind is truly existent. Now, Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying that if the object is illusion-like, still it can be the object of the mind. Why not the mind also illusion-like? Still, this object can have the mind as the subject. So in other words, Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying that object and subject both are illusion-like. Whereas for Chittamatra, only the object is the illusion, not the subject. Okay, let's not forget it. 27. Although the illusion is not truly existent, it is still an object of view. So it is for the viewer. This is Bodhisattva Shantideva. The first two lines, the first line is that of the Chittamatra. The second line is Bodhisattva Shantideva. So it is true for the viewer. The viewer also as illusion-like, and the viewed as illusion-like, as the object, as the illusion-like. Both can be illusion-like. Still, the cause and effect can operate infallibly. Suppose you still object, but samsara must have some truly existent functional things as its support. So this is very true. So let's say that, okay, there's the effigy of somebody, and why do we put the effigies? What do you call that? Crow scare? To scare the crows. To scare the crows in the farm, in the agricultural land, in the farmland. You put the scarecrow. Thank you. You put up the scarecrow there in the agricultural land, in the crops. The crops. Why we put the scarecrow? Anybody? Agila. Why do you put the scarecrow there? Unmute. Good.
I guess to prevent the crows from coming.
What's the problem if the crows come?
To prevent them to destroy the crops.
Yes, to prevent the crows and other birds from destroying the crops or eating the crops. Okay. So why this? Why this piece of cloth? How does it scare the crows? Because it looks like a human being for the crows or for the birds. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Okay. which means there's no real human being there. There's no real human being there, but there must be some straw and the clothes covering the straw. Something must be there. How many agree with me? Raise hands. There must be something there. Although the real human being is not there, so it appears as human being. That is deceptive. But there's still something there as a straw, and then cover that with the clothes. There should be something there. So now Chitta Matra is saying that to say is samsara, there must be something there as real on the basis of which then we can explain samsara. Otherwise, everything becomes like imaginary. Okay. Okay, 27. Suppose you still object, but samsara must have some truly existent function things as a support, like for the effigy. There's no real person there, but the effigy is there. There's something object there. Likewise, for samsara, there must be some objective reality there. Okay, this is these reflections are not just Chitta Matra's position. This is something that in our meditation on the Prasangika philosophy, emptiness, this is what is bound to come to us. Particularly, say that you meditate emptiness of self. You meditate emptiness of the flower. You meditate emptiness of your parents, your children, your family, and the emptiness of your cheesecake or whatever. You meditate all these things. And finally, when you move to the mind, it's very scary. Because, say, many of the people who meditate emptiness, they oftentimes report that when I meditate on the other things, it's fine. But there's a meditator. What is that? Who's the meditator? This mind. There's a meditator there. So I can still see the meditator there. So how can you say that this meditator is not truly there? It is there. If there's not that, then I'm not meditating. So to say that I'm meditating emptiness, there's a meditator mind there. Okay, this is where, and then when you meditate, emptiness of this mind is very scary, because you come to get a feeling that there's nothing to hold on to say that things function infallibly. Okay, this says what is said by Chitta Matra here, although the Chitta Matra is saying this, but in our own experience, in our own meditation, this is what is bound to happen to all of us. When these things happen, and particularly when you meditate on the emptiness of the mind, for that matter, first of all, we need to get what the mind is. Once you get what mind is, and then we need to learn how to meditate on the emptiness of the mind. Now, once you meditate on the emptiness of the mind, it's very scary. And if it does happen to you, very, very, very scary, like overwhelmingly frightening or scary, then you have to stop this meditation for some time. You have to practice on some other emptiness of some other objects. Because until you have a teacher, a real experienced teacher to guide you skillfully. Otherwise, it may not be fruitful. It may not be helpful. Okay. So what is said here really reflects our own meditation. Suppose you still object, samsara must have some truly existent functional things as a support. Yeah, but there's something there. Otherwise, how can I account for all the functional world? Otherwise, it would be like space. Nothing's really there. 28. Well, how could a non-thing supported by a truly existent thing come to have a function of giving rise to bondage and liberation? So what the Bodhisattva was saying is that, say that the self is like dream, but there's something there as a mind which is real, on the basis of which then the samsara and nirvana, illusion like all is happening. So Bodhisattva is saying is that so what you see as the illusion, samsaric illusion, and supported by a truly existing thing, that is not possible. That is not possible. How could a non-thing meaning the illusion-like phenomena, supported by a truly existent thing, to have, for example, what they say is that only mind exists. Mind exists as truly real. All others are like the reflection in the mind. And what truly exists there is the mind. If you say this, of giving rise to bondage and liberation. The mind, you asserted, would be reduced, in fact, to something existing alone by itself, accompanied by nothing. Okay, now if that's the case, in a way, what you were saying, the way we meditated earlier, we just imagine that everything is a reflection of my own mind. What really exists is just my mind. Then in this world, only you are left, right? You are left. And for example, the COVID is gone, even though COVID is also not there. And people who create problem, they're all not there. And then say the tendency for the hunger related to your body, that is also not there. Then tendency for the fear, okay, the wars, the cold, they're all related to the body, they're all gone, which means that you are just by yourself with your mind. You are just by yourself. In a way, this liberation. You are free from all the fears of life. Okay. 29. And if the mind is free of an object of apprehension, nothing's really there, then everyone would be a one thus gone. Everyone should be a Buddha. And if that were the case, what benefit would there be in conceiving of mind only? Then why do we have to study? If that's the case, that everybody is a Buddha, then why do we have to study Chittamatra philosophy? Buddha should not learn Chittamatra philosophy. So you're all teaching Chittamatra philosophy, debating with with us. All these things make no sense if everybody is Buddha now. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll come back. We have another 41 minutes. We'll come back at 41 minutes. After 41 minutes. Okay, see you. Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, everyone.